Hi, I'm John Cranton with JimFice.tv. Got a look at the 2013 NFC North Black and Blue Division. Last year, 3 of the 4 teams were projected by Las Vegas to have a winning record, and they did. The only division in football to claim that. Now this year, it's only 2, as they expect the Vikings and the Lions to be a little bit below 500. We're going to start off with the Green Bay Packers, projected around 12 wins. And Green Bay won the title 3 years ago, was 15-1 2 years ago, and 11-5 last season. In an age of passing the football, boy, the Packers are deadly. 9th last year in passing with 253 yards per game behind quarterback Aaron Rodgers. 39 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, 4,295 yards. This passing game loaded again with tight end Jermichael Finley, wide receiver Jordy Nelson, wide receiver Randall Cobb, and James Jones. The only concern is the offensive line, while Rodgers was sacked 51 times, and the ground game just 27th and 20th in the NFL in rushing the last 2 years. That's why they took Alabama running back Eddie Lacy in the 2nd round. Now the Green Bay defense, that's what hurt their title defense back in 2011 as they were trying to defend their title, as they ranked last in the NFL in yards allowed, passing yards, and sacking percentage. General manager Ted Thompson used his first 6 picks on defensive players, and they improved last year to 11th at defending the pass, 17th against the run, so there is impressive progress. This season they add defensive end Dayton Jones, a pass rusher from UCLA, in the 1st round. The improved defense is why they carry a 6-3 run under the total into the new season, as well as a 7-3 ATS run. But can this team win 12 games or top it? Boy, the schedule is brutal early for Green Bay, opening at San Francisco, a long road trip. They got to play the Redskins, at the Bengals, at home against improved Detroit, and at Baltimore, the defending champs. Later they have non-conference games at the Giants and Cowboys, along with a home game against the Steelers, making this a very difficult schedule. And they get the bye in week 4, which is not ideal. Coming up in 2nd place, we're going to take a look at the Detroit Lions, looking for a bounce-back season. Vegas has them projected at 7 wins. You know, a year ago they were projected at 9.5 wins. They were a colossal underachiever, a 4-12 train wreck. Oddly, the stats suggest that they really weren't that bad a team, but what killed them was defensive play and giving up way too many big plays and a string of close losses. The Lions lost 5 games by 4 points or less. They were 6-10 against the spread, meaning they're a bit of a public team with that great passing offense and have been a money burner with some defensive problems. But really, can they turn it around and return to their 10-win status of 2011? Well, sure, this passing offense has been great. They were 4th in the NFL 2 years ago, 2nd last season with 308 yards passing per game, led by quarterback Matt Stafford. Now, he had a lot of yards, but only 20 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. But still, he only fell 33 yards short of 5,000 yards passing last season. And boy, look at the targets that he has. Wide receiver Calvin Johnson, 1,964 yards receiving. You got tight end Brandon Pettigrew, plus 2nd-year wide receiver Ryan Broyles is in the mix. Now, Stafford didn't throw many touchdowns, but 2 years ago, remember, he had 41 touchdowns, 16 picks, and just over 5,000 yards receiving, so he should have a lot more than 20 touchdown passes this season. Now, the ground game, they battled injuries again and really weren't very good, 23rd in rushing, though Stafford was only sacked 29 times despite having to pass so much. Now, the defense still has defensive coordinator Gunther Cunningham. He loves an attacking, blitzing defense, and the defense last year was in the middle of the pack, 14th against the pass, 16th against the run, but they were 27th in points allowed, giving up 27.3 points per game. Ndamukong Suh had 9.5 sacks. Cliff Averill with 9 sacks. They're a couple of sack masters. Plus, don't forget young Nick Fairley. He showed he can dominate during a 5-game stretch last season when he compiled 5.5 sacks, but he missed 6 games with foot and shoulder injuries. But he says he's healthy now. Throw in the fact that Detroit had the number 5 pick in the NFL draft and took BYU defensive end Ziggy Ansah. Boy, this defensive line really looks loaded with depth and talent. Wouldn't be surprised to see a bounce-back team all the way around. They do play 4 of the first 6 games on the road, and there aren't a lot of gimmies all season outside of playing Arizona and Cleveland. The Lions are one of only 4 teams to have never played in the Super Bowl. The other 3, the Browns, Jaguars, and Texans. And Detroit was 11-6 over the total 2 years ago. Last year, 10-5-1 over the total with that great passing attack, but suspect defense. Wouldn't be surprised to see that trend continue. Then we have the Chicago Bears projected at 8.5 wins. Boy, Chicago's won 8 and 10 games the last 2 years, but it couldn't save Lovie Smith's job. So Chicago brings in former Montreal Alouettes coach Mark Trestman to run the team. He led the Alouettes to the Canadian Football League championships back in 2009 and 2010. He has NFL experience too with the Raiders and 49ers as offensive coordinator. In fact, twice he coordinated the NFL's #1 passing offenses. That was with the 49ers in 1995 and the Raiders back in 2002. That's why folks in the Windy City are so fired up to see his wide-open offenses team with quarterback Jake Cutler. He's off a year with just 19 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. But you throw in wide receiver Brandon Marshall, had just over 1,500 yards receiving. And second-year wide receiver Ashlon Jeffrey. The Bears ranked 10th in the NFL in rushing last year, 29th in passing, but likely that's going to reverse with their new schemes for this fall. Now, the offensive line in Chicago, that's still the big concern with the quarterbacks getting sacked 44 times last year, despite being more run-oriented. That's one reason they drafted Oregon guard Kyle Long with the 20th overall pick. The passing game also adds free agent tight end Martellus Bennett from the Giants. The defense had a lot of talent, though they do lose star linebacker Brian Urlacher. This unit still was strong all around, 8th in the NFL at defending the pass, 8th at defending the run. The unit improved from 33 sacks 2 years ago to 41 last season. Really a lot of talent with Henry Melton, Lance Briggs, Corey Woolton chipped in 7 sacks, and of course Julius Peppers with 11.5 sacks. Now the schedule for the Bears, well, it's pretty much as difficult as you can find. They got to play the Bengals, the Vikings. They're going to be at the Steelers and the Lions, home against the Saints and the Giants, then road games at the Redskins and Packers. In the second half of the season, boy, it's just as tough facing the Cowboys and defending champions Ravens while playing 4 of their final 6 games on the road. Chicago Bears carry a 3-8 spread run into the new season. Finally, let's take a look at the Minnesota Vikings, projected at 7.5 wins. Now, boy, what to make of this team? 2 years ago, 3-13 record, 10-6 last year. In an age of passing the football, well, the Vikings couldn't do that. 31st in passing. And their defense couldn't defend the pass either, 25th, allowing 244.3 yards passing per game. So how did this team win 10 games? Well, they were projected at 7.5 wins. They are projected for 2013, so Vegas is not really a believer in this team. This offense is one-dimensional. Quarterback Christian Ponder had 18 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 62% completions, just under 3,000 yards. And he loses his top target and wide receiver Percy Harvin, traded to Seattle, and they released third leading wide receiver Michael Jenkins. So really it's all on young tight end Kyle Rudolph and wide receiver Jerome Simpson. Both had under 500 yards receiving last year. One of their first 3-round picks, or one of their 3 first-round picks, went to Tennessee wide receiver Cordarrelle Patterson. Very fast guy, but he dropped a lot of passes in the SEC. They also signed free agent wide receiver Greg Jennings from the Packers, and they add free agent quarterback Matt Castle. And while the passing game looks weak overall and untested, the ground game is deadly behind running back Adrian Peterson. Absolutely remarkable season, 2,097 yards rushing, 6 yards per carry. So that will be strong. The defense struggled against the pass and was ranked 11th against the run. They haven't really had a good safety in Minnesota since Darren Sharper left for New Orleans. Now, Florida defensive tackle Sharif Floyd was taken with the 23rd overall pick, along with Florida State cornerback Xavier Rhodes with the 25th pick. But the schedule for the Vikings, boy, is very tough. He got non-conference games against the Steelers, Giants, Cowboys, Seahawks, Ravens, and Bengals. You would think with a ground-oriented offense and a good run defense, the Vikings would be involved in a lot of low-scoring games, and they were. They're on a 10-6 run under the total into the new season. Wouldn't be surprised to see that continue either. Make sure you check out JimFeist.tv for more college football previews as well as NFL previews.